My story time is going to be about why I quit doing work on Fiverr. So as you may not have known, I'm a graphic designer. I've been doing it for 10 years, just about now, 9 plus years, because I started around November of 2010. I've been on the computer since I was 2 years old, so I'm really like pretty advanced when it comes down to the computer. I don't have any problems with any of that. I'm pretty skilled and talented with it. So this comes down to me doing work on Fiverr. Don't know how long I've been on Fiverr. I've probably been on Fiverr for about at least 8 months, roughly. Not necessarily close to a year, but it's decent amount of time. So the way I started getting on Fiverr was I had a friend that was gonna pay me for doing a website design for her or something or other. So I did that. She was gonna say, "Yo, I can pay you through Fiverr," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. That's cool. I'll make up the gig." And I made something decent on Fiverr and everything, and so I did that. She paid me, and then about 2 weeks later. I actually hadn't gotten around to it, but I was actually gonna just delete the gig after I got paid and everything. And I'll go into more details about how Fiverr works here. But basically, after 2 weeks, after my friend just paid me on Fiverr with that gig to like just give me money that way instead of just giving it to me on Cash App or PayPal, it helped me get on my it helped me like build like a mini reputation and kind of go up from there basically with it. And so with that, it was my experience with Fiverr isn't necessarily bad, but it's in a position where it's a platform designed for if you just got a bunch of time to kill, you're experienced enough at doing something and you want to make some quick money on the side, but you got a bunch of time to kill and whatever, then it's viable. But honestly, if you're somebody who takes your work seriously and wants to get paid, like on time and efficiently, then Fiverr isn't really for people like that, like people like me who have been doing graphic design for a good amount of time, that if you're going to tell me it's going to take 2 weeks for me to get paid, then that's time that I could have been using that money during those 2 weeks of me waiting. So Fiverr does things in ways that it benefits them. So if you're serious enough on the platform, and I was doing website design for Squarespace basically, which is like really cool. I love that platform. And so I've had somebody recently pay me $200 on Fiverr. I don't think it was actually 200. It was close to 200, maybe 170, I think it was. That's what it was, $170. And so you got to remember that PayPal wants a cut of that. And something that's kind of hard to know the actual math on and how it all works. I kind of hate it and I absolutely don't agree with this type of methodology and the way they do things, because the more money that you want to earn to increase how good you are on the platform, they just begin to just take more. So if you're doing a job for $35, you're approximately gonna make $28. If you're gonna be doing a project for 200 or $180, then they're gonna take anywhere from $40 to $50 of your money. So it's really crazy and honestly not very profitable. When you're talking about smaller profits of like $5 on the platform, which is generally pretty common and stuff, um, I can't necessarily tell you about that because I haven't been crazy enough for $5 on the platform. But if they're already taking a pretty big cut of the money, I think you may actually get the $5, though. I'm gonna probably assume that if they're taking a percentage out of everything, that you're probably gonna get $2.50. It's that crazy. They take a good amount of money. And what they even do when it's $5 that your gig is for, I know that when it's a $5 gig, they charge the user actually $7, I believe. So it's really weird. When you're dealing with the lower amounts, it's not that big of a deal, honestly. You're basically working for pennies. And when I was doing graphic design for the Squarespace, I mean, I still do it, but I just quit being on Fiverr because it was a waste of time. When I was doing it on Fiverr, I was doing my graphic design for web design. It would take me a lofty amount of research and time, and me trying to understand what the person wants and doesn't want, or what their likes and wants are, and me trying to understand what type of content they want and stuff like that, basically. So, my delivery rate, is pretty good under a week. Sometimes I'd put 3 or 4 days, but sometimes for some of these projects, honestly, it would take me 7 days. It would be not cool like that, and it would take me a lot of time to get through them. So you want to find the gig on Fiverr that you can do. It can be a voiceover, it can be this or that, whatever. Um, with Fiverr, I got a lot of impressions and clicks. So I got about 600 clicks, and I got about probably close to 2,000. I got close to about 2,000 um, impressions, I think they call it. So that was kind of decent, I guess you could say. I got a decent amount of traffic. But I got to a point where there was two projects that I had worked on. Not not necessarily got the two projects at the same time, but just that those two projects went into the negative in the time. And so I had finished the project, I had delivered it on time, but the person saying that it was a good job, Fiverr's timer for me must have glitched, or the timer for their time in their different time zone said that I was actually past time or whatever. And so basically my delivery rate was counted as 5 hours not on time, even though in my time zone it was done. And so I got a negative strike for that, basically, which I feel with their algorithm cut down the amount of traffic that I got, because literally for 5 months, I absolutely am not making this up. For 5 months, I literally didn't get any traffic. My statistics totally crashed. And that wasn't even just the first one. There was another one where with the lady, I did really good work with her, and I still kind of do work with her maybe now. I don't know. She's kind of, she's cool and everything, and I friend her on Facebook. She's really awesome. And so, for the most part, I was communicating with her on the project, and even though I was good and friendly with her, the project wasn't put through as done, and she sat on the project of me saying it was done for about 2 or 3 days, and I was using those 2 or 3 days to actually get it done. But again, Fiverr marked it as not complete, even though I sent it to her for approval. So I was within 2 hours of it being complete. We're in the same time zone and even in the same state. So because she sat on it for 2 days to then approve it, basically, Fiverr again marked me as it not being on time. And so that even more absolutely just killed my streak, with absolutely everything. Now my streak did eventually recover, but it absolutely just drastically, just me having those two not on time deliveries completely killed it for me, getting any sort of clientele off of Fiverr, and anything like that. I even I had even gone in and even done fresh work for somebody on the platform about 3 months into my ban, and I did the work, I completed it, and I still wasn't seeing success. It took about 5 months, 2 months after I had done and gotten that order to then have things kind of recover for me. Um, Now, another thing about getting paid on Fiverr is that when you're trying to get paid on Fiverr, you know how I mentioned it takes like 2 weeks to get paid. Um, there's a thing where they can either give you it through PayPal, they can either direct deposit it, or they can put it on like a cash card. And they use this bank called Payoneer. Now, Payoneer is a decent company, I guess. I've personally never heard of it, but Fiverr uses it. And so it's kind of like this international bank in a way of things, which is cool and everything. Um, and I have no problem with Payoneer. And I had once saved up about $90 on my Fiverr account, and so then I went and cashed it out and everything. My phone bill at the time was $50, and so when you get this cash card, and you go and activate it, they I don't remember the fees, but they take $10 then to get it put onto the cash card within either, if you want it within a day or two, like 2 hours, I think it is. If you want it within if you want the money on the card within 2 hours, that's a $3 fee. Then I had to go to an ATM. You get fees from that. That was another $8 or $9 too on top of that, because I found a random ghetto ATM that allowed me to pull cash out of it. And so by the time I actually got to first use the card, the investment I already put in was about $20 to $25 just with fees, which was absolutely absurd. It's just such a terrible system to have it like that. I absolutely hate that just to be able to just start the use of the card, and you basically got to do that, and you can't just buy normal things off the card. Because it's a prepaid card, it's no different than going to Walmart and getting one of those prepaid cards that's like a net spend card, or those cards that you can get and turn on for a couple of dollars or something like that. They use as like kind of like a bank in a way, like a, you know, not physical location bank, I think it is, and whatever it is. So basically, every single time you use the card, you basically get charged anywhere from $2 to $3 for whatever purchase it is, which is very annoying. And then also too, I had to get smart with using it, and when I was using the card, I got to a point where I could go to a Thornton's or a Wawa, and I could pull off the money within $10 of whatever massive amount of money I want to take off the card. And so I did that. So after me using it a couple of times and getting into being able to have it and use it, I was able to get to a point where, with me being able to have it and use it, I got to a point where somebody was actually sending me money on the card, and so when me using it being prepaid at $300 every single month, I had to go, and I was only able to pull off like 290. I couldn't ever get a clean 300 because of like $10 in fees every single time I wanted to pull money off of it. Super annoying. Prepaid cards are trash. If I wanted to have money deposited straight to my bank account, it was like $1, but then it would take 3 days, which is super annoying. And it was just so irritating. Fiverr takes 2 days just to pay you, not 2 days. Fiverr takes, yeah, I know it takes 2 days itself to get to your Payoneer, you having the card, if you don't use it or don't get put any money on it or have any activity, they charge you $3 and whatever. which is super annoying. I think that's a pay or near fee though too. You have to wait 2 weeks to get paid, um, and that's you don't even get paid until you finish the project. So if you're gonna say that you're gonna take a week on a project, then you might as well think about getting paid in 3 weeks time every single time you do something, which is just like outrageous. I've heard from other people that the reason why things work like that is because as they're paying you, they're making interest or other money on top of your money. So if you want to get paid legitimately, it sucks. Um, so then also too, another part of all of this, if people when they're working with you, if they don't like you, if they don't leave a review, um, most often if they don't leave you a review, I've had a few people, if they don't leave you a review, then you'll honestly be at a point where if you don't get a review, then you're not going to get seen. You're not going to get more impressions or clicks or other people buying. So you want to make sure that when people are going to be wanting to do business with you, that you know it's like I forget what I was saying almost, but they leave you a review, because if they don't leave you a review, you're not going to be able to see growth. So if you have somebody that's super weird, or they're not experienced at using the platform, or they don't work within the time, what do you call it, the time limit or whatever of them being able to leave you a review, and they don't know how to use the platform, then you're not going to be able to get growth from that. Um, Other things is that a lot of the other things that I've learned about the platform is that it's a great platform for being able to find clients, and then if you can work with them and you can work around how to say, yo, email me, and then like let's talk there. That's really good. Fiverr has banned words. They can scan and read everything that you say within the confines of the messages. So if you're just talking with somebody and you say something in a certain way, or you say, yo, let's come over here and let's talk an email or a phone number or whatever, like text me, then they can like outright just go and ban you for that. And if you're in the process of a project and you're supposed to get paid for it, Fiverr, I've heard, possibly has the right to just take your money and absolutely just run off with it and just pocket it. I've heard of other people that have earned too much, and Fiverr is just like, oh, you make a bunch of money, we're just gonna screw you over and not give you those earnings. And then if you try to do or say anything about it, then they will absolutely squash your right to talk about it. If you put your website in your bio, then you'll get a message from support saying that you're in adherence of being able to use Fiverr for like a week or something because you broke terms of service or something. So you can't even link your own website for them to go and check you out. You can't use your company name. I've gotten emails going and using my company name, Design with Phoenix, and I got emails from support. You can't spam the word website in your product descriptions. So if you're saying I'll design you a website and then I'm gonna make you a beautiful website, you can't use the word website too many times, because then they think that you're manipulating SEO. So even when you're trying to make a gig and SEO is based on using a common word multiple times, they will not allow you to save what you've written. And in some cases, it will just say, yo, like, they'll just give you a blatant type of error or whatever, to just be like, it's just not saving, or it's gonna give you problems with, oh, sorry, you couldn't save, reload the page, and then you lose everything you wrote. Very annoying. Fiverr, I feel, is, depending on how you look at it, it's good for beginners to find a hobby in their craft of knowing what they want to do, to start out to begin to earn money in their freelancing adventure. But I wouldn't stay on Fiverr for too long. Build up a client base, do things to be able to connect with people. I've had many connections that are outside of Fiverr because I showed them that I had a reputation outside of Fiverr, and they ended up wanting to pay me more and wanting to pay me outside of Fiverr because they believed in what I was doing. And I told them that what Fiverr was doing wasn't right, and that also too that like I convinced people to talk with me outside of Fiverr. And I did the legitimate way of getting around the system to say, hey, let's talk outside of this. I can work a lot more efficiently this way if we talk through email. Like, I would find a legitimate way to talk and whatever, which was fine. And I was able to gain like a really good client base. I've gotten a good amount of people, honestly. A lot of all my clients that I worked with, a lot of them came from New York. I honestly don't know why a lot of them came from New York and New Jersey, which was like really weird for me because absolutely every single one of the clients that I worked with, a lot of them were based in New York. I only had one of them based in the same state as me, and then after that, I had another one that was based in Mississippi, which was in a neighboring state not too far from me. So that was pretty cool. So for the most part, Fiverr, honestly, it's something to experience and be on and try it out, but the long-term effects of even just getting started, you can make a gig on Fiverr, and if you don't have a reputation to then, hey friend, pay me $5 and, help me build my reputation, make me a fake review, like get me started, say I do really good work, whatever it is that you have to do, you're gonna have to honestly start out doing that. I don't know if that's something that you're supposed to do with Fiverr just to get started, but that's kind of what I had to, go with. Even though when I first got started, I had my first gig be $20, I only got $15. So Fiverr took a percentage out of that money, which was kind of irritating. It's so annoying how they do business. But honestly, when it comes down to it, Fiverr is just there to make money, and even though they help you be a platform and they take a percentage of your money, they even have ways of you going through courses, and you gotta pay Fiverr money, even more money, to learn skills that you already have, that you may already have a certificate from in your own school. They don't allow you to bring on those they don't allow you to bring on those certificates, for example. So what if you went to an art school for Photoshop? You can't bring that on there to be like a Photoshop pro certificate plaque on Fiverr. Some of the courses that are on Fiverr, I don't honestly remember the prices, but they were a little bit pricey. Some of the courses, from what I remember, could have been around $50, and they went upwards to about $200, depending on how complex you want to get into everything. And also too, if you're in a situation where you're living with roommates and you're having to do a voiceover, or you're having to do graphic design, and you're trying to get through having to do let's say, and you're trying to do things with trying to need decent concentration for doing what you need to do and have to do, then it's gonna really suck. Um, if you have like a coffee shop nearby and you got some decent headphones and earbuds, you can go to like a Starbucks and do decently there. But even that isn't all that great when you have to go and do that. So you need to kind of think about things like that. Fiverr isn't for a professional. If you're going to be a professional, then and you want to do good on the platform, then you have to live up to the standards and the quality of what Fiverr wants you to do. You can't buck the system and do your own thing. It's kind of restrictive. It's a site that's visited a lot by a lot of general people on the planet, and a good amount of people know about it. So just by that, that's a good marketing thing, which is fine. I think that if you were to really kind of exploit the way of being able to take local people in your area and say, yo, buy my gig on Fiverr and leave me a review, and stuff like that, I think that that's a better way to grow, to then get the reputation quicker and faster, to then be able to really get a lot of bookings. That's how I feel, because I feel that like every single time I got just one review from one client that I'd gotten, I literally got an additional five new prospects. Like the five new clients just hit me up, yo, I want to do some work with you, this and that. And only maybe two or three other people fell through with working with me. So some of the people, it would just be another new project. It was like kind of like a skipping rock on a lake. I'd get from one to another to then get more and continue this chain link, which was good. Don't get me wrong. But as long as you do good work and you're efficient at it, then you can do pretty good and build up a decent clientele base, which is fine. But honestly, for me, I've gotten to a point now where I've gotten more beyond and past relying just on Fiverr for my business. I've gotten into using Bumble, like networking, talking with people. I go to networking events. I do online Zoom calls with people, and try to like message them anywhere it is that they might be at. I try to get into Facebook groups for people that are kind of like new, fresh business owners or whatever. I make videos and I put them into those Facebook groups, and I kind of a little bit promote myself. I talk about my business and my company so that people get to know who I am a little bit. I do that from time to time. And that's kind of what I've done. Fiverr really got to a point where I only got a customer anywhere from one to two clients per month. They weren't necessarily crazy high paying clients because I wasn't asking a lot. I started out, once I did 20, I kind of increased my price after every person. I did eventually get up to about anywhere from my low end being $60 to my high end being $180. When I really stopped seeing clients was around 180 to 200. I did get a client for 170, which was great, but I got to a point where Fiverr just wasn't cutting it for me, especially waiting 2 weeks to get paid. Me being having to wait 2 weeks to get paid literally felt like having to wait a month to get paid a lot of the times. So if you're trying to live off of doing something on Fiverr, that's annoying, honestly, because if you have bills and phone bills to pay and whatever, that's not going to cut it, because the amount of time to wait for that money is, slow. For some people, everybody talks about how on Facebook or like, YouTube, in their videos, oh yeah, like Fiverr is like the best place to earn a bunch of money and whatever, and it's easy. Yeah, I tried replicating them, and they didn't really net me any success, honestly, from what their tips were giving out. they're saying do graphic design and then use like a free editor for like a logo maker or something on the website, and then just give it to them and try to match what they want, and hopefully they'll like it enough that they'll be okay with it. And I don't honestly think that using a free logo maker and then saying that that's graphic design is all that right necessarily, and then going and saying that your gig's like $5 to $10, and that's honestly like not cool. And also too, the people who do that, and they're just using a free logo generator maker, to some degree, some of those like even have like could in the future have copyright claims, because what if a company is a nail salon and then you make one from one nail salon, and then another down the road a year later another nail salon comes along and says, yo, I need a logo, this is what I want, and then it's the same thing. Even though you press different buttons, it's similar enough that that would be really bad to have that happen. So there's things like that where when it comes down to Fiverr, you never know the amount of quality you're going to get. It's either going to be really good or it's going to be really bad. It all depends on the person. And also too, if you've listened for this long and you're kind of at that point where you feel like, damn, Fiverr really sucks, and it's like, exactly, Fiverr is kind of terrible, and you're thinking about wanting to know where you could find other people, and things like that. There's another platform I've heard about. It's called Legit. And if you want to know how to spell it, it's literally just the word legit, LEGIIT.com. It's made by a person called Chris M. Walker, and he has a course about SEO, I think. So he's kind of in that space. He's kind of like a webmaster guy, which is cool. So like when it comes down to that, I think it's a decent competitive platform to Fiverr. Then again, if you're coming to a new and different platform, it's not going to have the amount of traffic that something like Fiverr does. It's not going to be recognizable. It's not going to be well known, and trying to like compete with other people within that niche space that also too are really good and don't want to be on Fiverr. That's another thing. I haven't gotten any business off of Legit, so I can't tell you if it's good or not. I've made a gig or two on there. It comes down to a point where if you think about the giant social media platforms like a Fiverr, Twitter, a YouTube, big social media platforms and whatever, it's just like a Google Plus, for an example. Nobody really honestly freaking use Google Plus basically. And when it comes down to it, I mean, Google Plus was something, a different bird honestly. But let's say you're gonna want to be that type of person that's gonna want to put the time and energy to then compete against Facebook basically. If you were to try to compete against Facebook, you're gonna run out of time, you're gonna run out of money, you're gonna run out of resources, you're going to run out of hard drive space, you're gonna completely just ultimately in this modern day, if you were going to try to do a social media platform, it would have to completely knock Facebook, Twitter, and all these other platforms off their rockers for it to even be competitive. And then again, if it's really competitive, you're going to end up getting bought out by those people because they want to be the top dogs. They want to, control their space basically. So when it comes down to that in this day and age, you should, if you're going to create a social media platform, it should have been 20 years ago, and it should have been here now. And if it's not here now and you didn't create it 20 years ago or even just 10 years ago, then you're ultimately completely effed. Like, no if, ands, or jokes about that. So honestly, that's just about everything I have to say that it has to come down to. Fiverr is an ultimately bullshit experience. If you're gonna try to, just make a gig and just hope somebody books you for some bullshit stuff, then that's great. But honestly, the traffic, the thought, and the time and the energy it comes into writing a description, building up good people, having a good clientele base, people you want to work with, things like that to then try to grow your reputation, you better be huge on Facebook. You better be huge on Twitter. At least you got to be a huge multi conglomerate already and have a pretty good image of yourself and be on like a Fiverr or something to then even, be worth it basically for, to even have decent traffic and get booked. If you don't have that, then you're not going to really do much. You're not going to be able to get anywhere. Like maybe you can reverse it around and maybe you can do something different. Maybe you can just be only on Fiverr and not use much social media and get somewhere. My social media presence is not that huge. It's kind of tiny for the most part. So when it comes down to it, your success with it can be different. If you got a huge group of friends and then there's a huge chain link of just that person knows 50 friends that then knows 150 friends and then those 150 friends then know 200 friends each and you can work your way through all of that pool of people and do work for them, then you're going to do really well. But if you're just a nobody, you just make a gig and you put a little bit of effort into it, you may get a couple of gigs, but ultimately Fiverr is not a place to start out from scratch unless you just want to make it and hopefully eventually hope that somebody books you just because they feel like, oh, I feel good about this and I'm just gonna go with it. Like I've actually had somebody that's just like, oh, I believe and have a huge amount of faith in me doing work with you, and then they turned out liking me a lot and they just loved it a lot. I have had people that when I've done work on there, they're just, man, you're so good at what you do. I'm going to come back later and book you for more. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Here's my email. And then now I get them through email instead of being on Fiverr. So that's kind of my 2 cents on all of Fiverr. It's not a great platform, especially when it comes down to the getting paid aspect, getting found, too much competition, too much white noise to even make it be worth it too, unless you put the time and the energy to also to get certified on their platform and then pump money into that. So if you don't already have money to then hope that you're going to go and get more money and then by being certificated and whatever, then being like a legit like, hey, I got like a degree in this field type of thing, then like that's the only way you can really do decent with it. But then that's like, then what's the point? So that's kind of where that's at. Hopefully this gives you a good amount of insight, and this has honestly been a pretty decent no filter on working with doing stuff on Fiverr. So hopefully this was decently insightful, and hopefully somebody finds this and thinks, man, I can't believe it. Everything about this that I talk about is absolutely true. That's my experience. That's what I've experienced. It's the same thing for somebody saying, yo, what's it like to work at Fiverr? It's just like somebody going and saying, hey, what's it like to work at Walmart, for an example, and they tell you how it's like to work at Fiverr. They tell you what it's like to work at Walmart, and they make a video about it. And however, so hopefully this was useful to somebody, because when it comes down to it, I don't feel like many people talk about what it's like to be on Fiverr, or anything like that. I have a good amount of perspective on the platform and ideas that I've talked about here, but I feel like it can be for everybody, But again, you gotta literally honestly devote like a 9 to 5 job to it. You gotta really understand SEO. You gotta conform to their terms of service. You gotta be a person doing everything completely by the book. Even though I did everything by the book, and that's fine to, not get banned. I still got to the point where with clients, I really created a bond with a lot of them. And so they loved the amount of service that I did for them and that they felt that I should have been paid more. And that's why I developed that connection where I got to a point where I can get paid more and they feel happier that they're supporting me while I'm doing it. So I could honestly say it's okay for being able to like get a decent amount of clientele, as long as people see that you are something that you are a person that you know is worth that value, that you've done really good and that you have something to bring to the table, and are like, it's gonna be done professionally, I guess. Like, I don't know what most people expect when they book a Fiverr. If you book a Fiverr and you expect a half-assed job, you could probably go and do it yourself and do just as well as if you paid somebody on Fiverr to do it. Unless you're expecting $5 to be professional, then I don't know what to say. Then that's what it comes down to. That's just how I feel. Fiverr, it's an okay platform, though I wouldn't stay on it for too long. I would be on Fiverr probably for like at least a year, like, and that's even if you're like me and it's decently stable and you're maybe getting one or two clients, and you can't do anything about Fiverr taking a huge amount of percentage. It just depends on what you're offering and what someone's willing to want out of you for it, and whether or not if you can make your time worth it to then even do it like that. So you just gotta find what's right for you and do that and work with it. Hopefully, this has honestly been really insightful, and this is what it's been like to be on Fiverr, and that's what it comes down to.